in the context of the male as opposed to the pronoun. Whereas a pu, if you just say pu, it means child. It has no gender discrimination. It's just the child, pu. Okay, so it says, how should the child of the lineage practice the wisdom of emptiness, rather than how should the son of the lineage, as well like the daughters cannot practice the wisdom of emptiness. This is the wrong interpretation. So how should the child of the lineage practice the wisdom of emptiness? This is the question. Child of the lineage, what do you mean by child of the lineage? Say, the 1,000, say like 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, we see that the prince, they were very important. Why? Because this prince, although just a young one-day-old child, even the most experienced, learned ministers, they have to respect this young child, because this child is eventually going to become the king. This child is the lineage holder of the king. Likewise, the child of the lineage here, lineage of what? Lineage of the Buddhas. Lineage of Buddhas. And the lineage of Buddhas is much more important than the lineage of the kings. So in terms, although we may not be holding the lineage of the kings, but no doubt we can become the lineage holder of the Buddhas, which is more important than the lineage holder of the kings. So therefore, we all have the capacity to become the lineage holder of the king, the Buddhas. Okay, what do you mean by lineage holder of the Buddhas? Anybody who is going to become Buddha eventually, anybody who aspires to become Buddha, they become the lineage holders. Anybody who is going to become king, they are the lineage holders of the kingship. Likewise, anybody who aspires to become Buddha, or I'll become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Anybody, whether you're a boy, girl, whether you're educated, uneducated, whether you are born Buddhist or not born Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Anybody, whether rich, poor, anybody who wishes to become Buddha, automatically you are the lineage holder. You become a very important person. You become the lineage holder of the Buddhahood. So that is the lineage holder. Being the lineage holder of the Buddha, you should think of becoming Buddha. To think of becoming Buddha, you have to do something. So what is that to be done is to practice the wisdom of emptiness. Practice the wisdom of emptiness driven by the force of the bodhicitta, and bodhicitta grounded on renunciation. So renunciation, bodhicitta, and the wisdom of emptiness, all three things are encompassed here. So this, the wisdom of emptiness to be practiced. So Shariputra asked Aravalokiteshvara as to how the child of the lineage practice the perfection of wisdom. Perfection of wisdom here refers to the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, this question asked by Shariputra, we are not to miss that part. Number 2, what's the response given by Aravalokiteshvara? Then the Aravalokiteshvara went to explain how everything is like a dream. How everything is like a dream. We see everything so solid, so objectified, so solidified there, but in actuality everything is like a dream. Everything is like a dream, all coming from our mind. Nothing from the object. Object as opposed to the subject from the mind. Nothing really exists from the object. Everything is like a dream. So when will you realize the dream? When you're in the dream or when you come out of the dream? When will you realize that you are dreaming? Well, only when you come out. In the dream, you see dream as real. Only when you come out, then you will realize that the dream is dream. So, only by waking up, you realize that the dream is coming from your mind, not from the object. When you're in the dream, you are sucked into the dream and you see the dream as real from the object, as real from the object. Okay, as long as you see the things as real from the object, this is where we are sucked up in the dream of the ignorance. Okay, so now, okay, let us quickly. Do you think that everyone's here or the one or two missing? Are you sure? Because there are many things which otherwise we have to study during the main class. I may touch this area this time. Do you think so? Okay, if there are one or two missing, then they will not be able to connect. Okay, fine, it's fine. So now, on the coming out of the dream, when you wake up, only then you realize that, oh, whatever was happening in the dream, it was just coming from my mind, it was not really from the object. The moment you realize that, you're released from the nightmare of the dream. The moment you realize that whatever happened in the dream was just coming from the mind, the moment you realize that there's nothing from the object, it's all coming from the mind, the fear dissolves. Right? Okay, so Aravalokiteshvara explaining how everything is like a dream, including yourself. Yourself, your body, your mind, 5 aggregates. Then the Four Noble Truths. Even the Four Noble Truths also like dream. And then the 5 aggregates. Then the 12 sources. 12 sources meaning the 6 objects and the 6 mediums. And then the 16 elements, the 6 sources, the 6 objects, 6 mediums, and the 6 subjects of your mind, which represent the entire universe, and the 12 links of dependent origination. So how everything is like a dream. So this word out of Lukdishvara went in great detail to explain how everything is like a dream. So everything is like a dream. The moment, what do you mean by everything is like a dream? Just as a dream, everything is not dream, everything is like dream. Just as dream comes from your mind, everything comes from your own mind, nothing really from the object, the air. Okay, so this is the wisdom of the professional wisdom. So this is what we have to realize. We have to practice it on a daily basis. Number 3, what's the benefit if you practice this? Then Avalokiteshvara went to the next point. He said that if somebody realizes this, all your fears of life will dissolve. All your fears of life will dissolve. Just like, say, in a dream, going through a nightmare in the dream, and you're being chased by a ghost, you're being chased by a tiger or chased by a ghost, and you run. So much of the fear in there. And then, say, somebody is the ghost about to get you, you fall and about to get you, and then your mother wakes you up. What a relief. That relief is because of realizing that whatever was happening in the dream, it was not real. It's not objectively real. It's all coming from mind. The moment you realize that, from the object it's all empty. Emptiness. From the object is all empty. So what all happened there was all coming from our mind. The moment you realize that, you're freed from the grip of the fears of life. So this is the purpose, that all your fears, stress, anxiety, the anguish, lamentation, the fear of losing near and dear ones, and so forth, all these miseries will come to an end if you wake up from the sleep of ignorance. So that is the purpose. Okay, if you turn to page 15, the second paragraph, page 15, second paragraph, this is the question asked by Shariputra. And the third paragraph is the response given by Avalokiteshvara. And then the next page, the last paragraph, is the benefit of practicing wisdom emptiness as indicated by Avalokiteshvara, the benefit. Okay, these are the 3 points, not a miss, whenever we recite the Heart Sutra. Okay, with that in mind, let's recite this together. And again, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas with you, and you are surrounded by all the dear sentient beings, including your 2 parents. And you are leading this. I prostrate to the irretrievable gem. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on mass of Valchas mountain in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration of the categories of phenomena called profound illumination. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara: how should any child of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound profession of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound profession of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, fading, discrimination, composite factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are empty, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composite factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on up to it, including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on up to it, including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, thus without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken, unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Deyata Om Gadi Gadi Para Gadi Para Samgadi Buddhi Swaha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aravadavitishvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you've indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharitvatiputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aravadavitishvara, those surrounding the entirety along with the word of gods, Gandharvas were overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Bhagavan. Okay, this mantra, as recite this 7 times. Imagine the Buddha Shakyamuni is exhorting us thus: don't remain in the fears of samsara. Come towards ultimate happiness by awakening the seed of perfection within yourself, by removing all the mental defilements. And you hearing this melodious voice of the Buddha Shakyamuni, you inspire your two parents, you inspire all your family members, including your children and everyone, all the beings in this universe, informing them, look, this is what a compassionate teacher Buddha Shakyamuni is telling us. Let us not remain in fears of samsara anymore. Let us all go towards ultimate happiness together. And all sentient beings, hearing what you are saying, they are so inspired, they are so happy to come along with you towards towards activating the seed of perfection, towards the ultimate, the happiness. So, with that in mind, let's read this and say this 7 times together. Deyata Om Gati Gati Para Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Swaha Deyata Om Gati Gati Para Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Swaha Deyata Om Gati Gati Para Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Swaha Deyata Om Gati Gati Para Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Swaha Deyata Om Gati Gati Para Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Swaha Deyata Om Gati Gati Para Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Swaha Deyata Om Gati Gati Para Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Swaha. Appreciating. By the teachings of the 3 Supreme Jewels possessed and part of truth, may in and outer hindrance be transformed, may it be dispelled, may it be non-existent, may it be pacified, May all negative forces opposed to the Dharma be completely pacified. May the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May we be separated from problems and conditions harmful to the Dharma. May all enjoyments be in accord with the Dharma. May all specials and perfect happiness pervade this place now. Okay, some of you may be, why clapping? Clapping is just a convention. What are we going to do? What we learn today and tomorrow is that everything is nothing but just convention. Just let's say the electricity, the flow of the electricity, there are two poles. What are they? Positive and negative, right? There are two sides, positive and negative. So which is positive, which is negative? Why the first one should be, why the one is the positive and why not negative? There's no specific reasons. So it's just the arbitrary label given. These two are different, and while one is just arbitrarily given conventionally, just conventional. This was when I was in school, I think class 8 or class 9, I learned that one is positive, one is negative, there's no reason. Right? This is just convention. This is what my teacher said. I could not believe what my teacher was saying. What is convention? So nothing's really there to tell me which is positive, which is negative, and we arbitrarily label it as positive and negative. So later on, then, say they come into study the Buddhist philosophy, or come to realize that everything, it's not just this, the two sides of the electricity, one is positive, one is negative. Everything is convention. Everything. Convention meaning how our mind dictates, nothing really from the object. From the object is all just empty, right? How our mind dictates, on that basis, then things are operating. Good, bad, and happiness, miseries, all these things are operating just on that level. Just on superficial, very superficial, the appearance level, everything's operating there. Nothing really from the object side. This is what the reality is. Now, say clapping again is the same, the word, convention. Convention. In some places, clap means good. In some places, clap means to dispel the evil. Right? And then, in some places, you put on a hat means respect. Where? Jewish tradition, Islamic tradition, Christian. And in many places, you put on a hat means it's a sign of arrogance. Yeah, so you have to put off your hat. So these are all, which is correct, which are correct, which are wrong. Both are correct. It's just a convention. Nothing from the object. It's all just convention. How do people conceive? Right? In some places where maybe more the rich people, they put on the hat, they come put on the hat, and then the other people, they are not too happy. This is indication of the other person's showing off the richness. So somebody coming to receive teachings, put off your hat, right? To remove your the sense of arrogance and admiration like this. Then it becomes a habit, it becomes a custom, it becomes a convention. That coming to teaching means you have to put off the hat. If you put on the hat means no respect. Okay. Then in some traditions, right, without putting on the hat means disrespectful. You put on the hat. So it's all conventions, all are correct. So we will be fascinated to learn that everything is just convention. Everything is convention. And yet, it's not that one is correct and one is wrong. So therefore we have to respect. It says, it's beautiful. In Rome, do as Romans do, right? So this means that nothing exists really from the object side. It's just convention. Because it's just convention, you have to respect the convention. If you don't respect the convention, then nothing else to respect. Because everything is just convention. And the convention varies. In Rome has its own convention. Do the convention, follow the convention of the Rome. Beyond convention, nothing really there, right? This is amazing. If we discover this, it makes our life so easy, right? Okay. So next, 8 verses of mind training. 8 verses of mind training. This the purpose for doing this is to lay the ground for us to cultivate the unconditional love to resolve beings, to lay the ground. What's the opposite of unconditional love? Anyone? Selfish interest? Anyone else? Within our emotions, are there any emotions which contradict the unconditional love? No experience. Huh? Hatred, very good. The moment you have the sense of hatred, then no room for unconditional love, right?
Terms and conditions. Terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions, yes, really, okay, provided. Okay, I love you, provided you are a boy, provided you are a girl, provided you are my sister, my brother, my parents, provided you are this from this country, from this, like this, provided terms, conditions, simply put off the unconditional love. Any other thing. Jealousy. The moment the jealousy there, the love and affection, the love and affection is distance. Very good. Fear. Yes. Fear. The moment you feel fear of somebody, right? Love and affection is far away. Fear means you run away from it, and love and affection embraces others. Embracing and running away, these two are counter forces, opposite forces. Very good. Anything else? Anger. Yes. Anger is the one which says, no, don't come close to me. Right? This is anger. With love and affection, unconditional love is, yes, no matter what, you come close to me. So these two are direct opposites. So all what you have said is correct. So what we're doing here in verse mind training, it is to lay the ground for unconditional love. And the ground for unconditional love is to get rid of anger, to get rid of fear, to get rid of the terms and conditions, right? Okay, so all this point, all these, what attracts all these anger and so forth is the self-centered attitude. So the 8 verses here explains how to crush, how to shatter this self-centered attitude. How to crush the self-centered attitude and how to shatter the self-centered attitude. Because the self-centered attitude is the one which attracts fear, which attracts, say, the hatred, which attracts the jealousy, which then makes you to lay the conditions, terms, conditions, which makes you to become angry, which makes you to become irritated. So all these things are attracted by the self-centered attitude. So by no means, what we have to do here is we have to make distinction between two things. Self and a self-centered attitude. Never ever have a sense of self-hate. Never ever hate the self. This self is so important. Don't underestimate yourself. This self is so important. No matter, even though you see yourself as very insignificant, you are very important after all. You are extremely important. Right? And if you really want to hate someone, hate this self-centered attitude. Just get rid of the self-centered attitude, and this self will become Buddha. And just tell me, who is more important than Buddha? You, this self will become Buddha. You will become Buddha. When you become Buddha, you are the most important figure in the universe. You are the most important one. You are the jewel. You are the treasure for all the sentient beings. So therefore you, this person, is so important. This you are so important. So we have to distinguish between you, the self, and the self-centered attitude. We have to feel angry towards the self-centered attitude, because self-centered attitude is the one which does not allow you to manifest your full potential, manifest you into the Buddhahood. So therefore, the self-centered attitude to be crushed. So the 8 verse of mind training here, it is to teach us how to shatter the self-centered attitude, not to shatter the self. Right? Many people, they get wrong impression. While reading this, they get the impression that, oh, it is just very self-denial practice. I look upon myself as the inferior. I'll take everybody else as superior. It is to crush it is to get rid of the self-centered attitude, not to get rid of the self. Okay. With this, one. Number 2 that I'd like to share with you, which is so important, is that within the mind we need to make a distinction between the self-referential ego, in other words, self-centered attitude, self-referential ego, and the self-confidence. There are two things within us. And depending on, say how you identify these two, that determines whether you're an ordinary person or whether you're an evolved person. And there's no, say, the objectively real evolved person. There's no fixed evolved person. There's no fixed ordinary person. Our thinking determines whether you're an ordinary person or default person. If your thinking changes, you become a default person. If your thinking remains very, very basic, you remain an ordinary person. So what determines ordinary person, what determines the enlightened beings is that anybody who sees these two things, self-referential ego and self-confidence, anybody who sees these two things as same, and on that basis you lead your life according to this principle, that these two are much more the same, self-referential ego and self-confidence. These two are much more the same, then you remain ordinary, right? So with this, what happens? The moment your self-confidence goes up, your ego also goes up. The moment your ego, you shatter your ego, your confidence also goes down. So these two are seen as the identical. So this is how the ordinary beings behave. Now, if you don't want to remain as ordinary, what should we do? We should revolutionize our thinking. How to revolutionize our thinking? First of all, make the distinction between these two things: self-referential ego and self-confidence. We distinguish the two things. Self-referential ego is the source of all our miseries, and self-confidence is the source of all happiness. Don't forget it. By making this distinction, see how to shatter the self-grasp, self-referential ego. See how to boost the self-confidence. And if you're able to shatter the self-grasp, self-referential ego to the maximum, and you're able to boost the self-confidence to the maximum, you become enlightened. You become fully enlightened being. That is a fully evolved being. This is the meaning of enlightenment. So this is what we are learning from the 8 Words Mind training. Okay, with that in mind, let's recite this. With the determination to achieve the highest aim, for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, or pressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a jewel treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have held or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer a benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains from my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of 8 mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. And this stanza, which I took from Lama Tsongkhapa's Bhagavad, which is a very powerful stanza to boost our self-confidence. Okay. From my 2 collections, vast the space that I've amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom are blinded by ignorance. Okay, the next 7 puja. This 7 puja, why we have to do this? Why we have to do this is because that finally we want to reach the state. We want to reach a stage where all our miseries are gone rid of and our happiness becomes infinite. So this is what we are seeking. This state is known as Buddhahood. This state is Buddhahood is not to be sought from outside. It is already there within us. And what is inside us, known as the Buddha nature, it is the true nature of this Buddha nature. It is deprived. It is freed of all the miseries, fears, and it is equipped, it is enriched with the happiness. And yet we don't feel that. We don't feel that because we are very basic. It is defiled with the mental defilements. It is mixed with the mental defilements. So we are in a mixture of the mental defilements, just as the gold ore, which is mixture of the gold and the dirt. Gold ore, in order to bring out the pure gold. Out of that, we have to subject this gold ore to the processes. So this process is a process